Happy Monday.
Oh, there you go. Good morning. For some reason, we were talking to each other and it had the countdown still going for the live feed. Anyway, let's start over. Good morning.
Good morning.
You never know what to expect with this. Anyway, hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It's a extra happy Monday for you, I think.
Why? Because I'm leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is exciting, but also, as you know, stressful.
Yeah.
Because my to-do list before leaving is so long, and I had to work like the weekend just to get through it, chip away at it.
Yeah.
So,
It'll
but
be
once
worth
I'm
it though.
once there, it'll be
Mhm.
great. So, you know, whenever I before I leave, I have to record so many interviews and stuff. So I have another one today. Are you
But
ready?
yeah, I was gonna say, but the end's in sight, and this time next week this will just be a distant memory.
It will. And then I'm home for a few days and then at Disney World with you.
Yes. Yeah. Let's not think that far ahead. That gets me starting to panic because I'm in the nice zone of being able to have structure, but that's a story for another day. Let's get on with this week at Disney World.
Okay, so we are going to be talking about EPCOT festivals today. And that's the topic that we are mostly going to be talking about, but we're also going to cover a little bit of news and what's coming up this week ahead. And then if you have any comments or questions that you submit while we're talking, we'll get to those at the end. Shall we start with a little bit of news?
Yes. So there were a couple things that wanted to talk about this morning on related to news, and the first thing was something that we had been discussing, I think, last week, was that Disney hadn't given any indication about the new Disney Junior Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Live, about
Mm-hmm.
where it was going to end up, if it was returning as a Lightning Lane. And the good news is that it actually is. It is now showing up on the Disney World website that it is a tier 2. So for everyone who was asking about that, there you go.
Yeah, so it lists both Rock and Roller Coaster and the Disney Junior Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Live as
Mhm.
lightning lanes, and they both say opening May 26th. The difference, Rock and Roller Coaster is a tier 1, and the Disney Junior show is a tier 2.
Yes. Yes. So good to know that Disney has confirmed that. It was, I think, extra questions about it because of the way the construction has taken place. The entrance, the traditional entrance, where you would walk through that like gate-ish thing was removed, so you couldn't see the signs anymore, but knowing for sure now is nice. Something else that I was taking a look at this morning, that was kinda interesting was information about Brightline being in trouble. Have you seen this?
I haven't, but we are big fans of trains and
Yeah, and it's, for those who don't know, Brightline is a rail line that runs between, like, Miami, it goes all the way up to Orlando, very convenient if you are doing, like, a cruise. It makes it very convenient if you're going, like, out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, but unfortunately, they appear to be sitting in about 5.5 billion with a B dollars in
oh
debt.
my.
Yeah, so some significant debt. They did have some profits last year, but it was about half of what they were expecting, and just their interest payments are well over $100 million. So they are in trouble. Um, I think it's maybe a little bit indicative of the whole car culture that we have as opposed to other countries around the world, where we are so used to having complete control over our own transportation by having a car that people aren't necessarily as inclined to use a rail system. And then it's limited. I mean, it's great for people who are trying to go between Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and go north, but it's not an extensive rail system. So you
Mhm.
just don't get the same number of riders as you would if it was this cross country national rail system where you could hop on in Florida and stay on one set as, one company, one rail provider and make your way all the way to,
Yeah.
potentially.
This is the kind of thing I think should be government funded at the beginning to kind of get the
Mhm.
system started.
Yeah. Yes. So that is some kind of sad news. I wouldn't panic, but I think people are maybe a little, you know, gun shy, for lack of a better word, after the whole Spirit debacle. I definitely would not panic about not having that as an option if it's something that you've planned for an upcoming trip. But Samantha Brown put together a really great reel here recently, and I wished I would have thought to give you it, Shannon, if you hadn't seen it, but she basically showed what she does before any kind of travel, including airline travel, and that she looks at what her flights are, makes sure she has that information down, but then finds multiple alternative ways to get
Yes,
from point A to point B.
I did. I think I may have even shared this
Okay,
because
good.
she has backups just in case.
Yes, so she's got her backups ready to go, saved. She's got a paper copy. I think paper copy and a version on your phone would not be a bad idea for any kind of travel. So you know exactly like what the flight numbers are if you were flying, so you aren't searching for them when everybody else is trying to snag, spots if something goes south. So,
Yes, I
yeah.
have a feeling she learned that lesson the hard way.
Oh, I bet so too. I bet so too. But just having a backup plan in place is not a bad idea ever.
Under the banner of news, I wanted to also share that there were some park hours updates.
Mhm.
Usually every weekend, Disney posts some updates to some upcoming park hours, and this batch happened to apply to May 24th to the 30th. So it seems like a pattern for them that they will publish these edits about 3 weeks out,
Yeah.
something like that. And the main takeaway for these is that the parks, other than Magic Kingdom, the other three parks have extended hours. So,
Mhm.
like Hollywood Studios is staying open till 10 instead of 9. Animal Kingdom is open till 7 or 8, depending on your date. And then, Magic Kingdom's on the list. It's Epcot that's not. And then Epcot is staying open until 11 some nights. Can you believe it? It's when
That
it's when we're there too.
that's okay, that's really fun. Bring it
So
on.
it's open till 11 at Magic Kingdom, and then Epcot did not change. Epcot's pretty solid at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that
Um,
one rarely changes. Sometimes it goes to 9:30 during, like, heavy festival seasons, but
yes.
otherwise, it's almost always a 9 to 9.
And I typically post these updates every weekend because I know that they're going to come out. And, so if you want to follow on social media for your trip dates, you should. These will be posted usually on Instagram and Facebook. But the full park hours can be found in the Disney World app, my Disney Experience app, or on the Disney World website. Whenever I post these updates, people always go, "But what about all the other hours?" I'm like, you're going to have to go get those on your own. I'm not posting all the park hours. I'm just telling you that they changed from the originals.
Yeah, which is very good news to have. A couple other little things coming up this week that you should know about. Typhoon Lagoon reopens tomorrow, actually. So that kind of starts the summer season in the water parks, and both water parks will be open then up through late summer, early fall. Don't forget that the free water park on arrival day starts May 26th. So even though both parks open starting tomorrow, that free water park perk doesn't start until May 26th. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party tickets go on sale to the general public tomorrow. So if you are an on-site guest, you might want to think about buying today if you're looking for some of those super popular days like Halloween.
We should take bets on when we think the Halloween night party is going to sell out.
To fill out, I will go look at our historical information to figure that out so that I can win that bet.
You're going to make an educated guess.
Yes, yes, based on what we know from the past.
Uh-huh.
And then last day for Soarin' before it goes through its little short brief refurbishment is this week too. That is on May 13th.
13th. Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of those things that we wanted to touch base on before we talk about festivals.
Yeah. So that's what happened since we last chatted. Okay. So we're going to talk about Epcot festivals because they have a lot in common, but
Mhm.
also some differences,
Mhm.
namely the dates.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at that. Not surprisingly, we have so many graphics to share. So the calendar.
Yeah. Um So Epcot has 4 festivals, as I'm sure most of people watching know. They have the Festival of the Arts, the Flower and Garden Festival, Food and Wine Festival, which is kind of the OG, I think the one that most people, know about, and then Festival of the Holidays.
Yes. And there was a time when the parks had festivals about 90% of the time, and
Mhm.
now it's maybe closer to 70 because they kind of skipped the summer.
Mhm.
Which is how we're used to seeing it. But
Yeah.
newer parks, people have started calling it Epcot Light. So when like June, July, August, when there's not a lot going on here for festivals, people call that Epcot Light, and that cracks me up. But other than that, there's pretty much a festival going on
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And they all offer something a little bit different, but also a lot of similarities, which is why we have a comparison chart.
Mhm.
Look at that. It's huge on our screen.
Yeah. It looks really great. I like the colors. So
You're like, yeah, I did a good job. So here's the four festivals we just talked about when they're offered. So that is a difference, is the time of year,
Mhm.
and the weather is going to factor in here.
Yes. So Festival of the Arts is the newest festival, and it's also one of the shortest. It's usually about a month and a half. It's not super long, but you get the absolute best weather for it.
Hmm. Sometimes we even need a coat or a blanket.
Yeah. Um, then Flower and Garden, it is a little bit longer span of time, and then the behemoth that is Food and Wine goes on and on and on, and it tends to span some of the hottest times of the year.
Yes, starting with August.
Yes, and then, Festival of the Holidays wrapping up the year, another brief ones that it doesn't take isn't around for very long.
Yeah, and they vary in their theme. So, Festival of the Arts is all about the culinary, performing, and visual arts. So, the food is a little bit more artsy. There
Mhm.
are performers on stages. There are art like paintings that you can kind of get your picture taken with. There's a what's it called when you paint the mural, a
Mural.
mural that everybody gets to paint. So they really lean into the art part of that. Flower and garden is, of course, gardening, horticulture, botany. I feel like they really used to lean into this more. Like it's definitely pretty, where they
Mhm,
have topiaries up and flower beds out that you won't see outside of the festival. But they used to also have special events and
mhm.
sessions that you could take part of, including with people from HGTV.
Yes.
But it's still the prettiest Epcot ever looks. And then, of course, Food and Wine Festival is centered around food and wine. But the truth is, all of these festivals are centered around like food and drinks. It's just that Food and Wine is the one that's called that.
Yes.
And then last one, Festival of the Holidays, is about global holiday traditions. So as you go around the World Showcase, you're going to get different kinds of holidays represented in those countries.
Mhm. Um, and you mentioned that they all are centered around, like, the food booths. I love how they call them different names for different things,
They absolutely do, which
which
is very funny. We just say booths.
yes, just in general, it's just the food booths. Like you were saying, Festival of the Arts centers around like food that is more artistic, and it's very much the presentation is a big part of
Hmm.
it. Flower and Garden tends to they lean into the whole idea of freshness, and you'll see garnishes that are flowers or things from the living with the land. Like they really lean into that freshness aspect. Food and Wine is supposed to be a little bit more elevated global cuisine, and in some cases it might be, but, it's still, theme park elevated. And then for Festival of the Holidays, of course, it's more seasonal things, so seasonal, holiday, global, traditional food and drinks is more what you'll find.
Yeah, and then every festival they have performers on the stage. So there's a
Mhm,
stage in the American Adventure Pavilion, and it's called something different for each festival. So for Festival of the Arts, it's Disney on Broadway concert series, and they have Broadway performers, like real Broadway performers, come in, and they will perform for I don't know a few days at a
mhm,
time, and they will perform both the things that they are known for,
Mhm.
and other things from the Disney Broadway catalog. And some of these same performers are on Disney Cruises, incidentally,
Mhm.
which is very exciting. And then Flower and Garden is the Garden Rocks concert series. And then Food and Wine is Eat to the Beat series. And are these both like retro rock?
Okay, here's the problem, Shannon. I think we're at an age now
Where they seem current?
where sometimes they seem current.
But there isn't a huge difference between these two, right?
No,
Like
there used to
it's
be. There used to be like a more significant difference. Again, this may just be us reaching a certain age.
yes,
Where because the Flower and Garden one used to be called the Flower Power series, and
yes,
it used to be like very much bands from the 60s and 70s.
the Flower Power era.
Yes, I think some of those what has happened is some of those people are no longer performing.
Right, they're not available in that era.
Nope. They are they are they're gone. So instead they've gone to the Garden Rocks concert series, and so they're leaning kind of into the more rock, but it's spanning multiple generations.
And it can be anything from Blue October to Joey Fatone
Uh-huh.
to like it's just so many different names. But those two are kind of similar in that way. And those are the two biggest festivals. So that kind of makes sense. And then the last one is Festival of the Holidays has the Candlelight Processional, which is an
Mhm.
incredible thing to see, but it is also very competitive. So depending on the narrator, but even narrator aside, people are going to show up for it.
Yes, yeah.
I've seen John Stamos there, Neil Patrick Harris there,
Whoopi
and
Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg. There's so many great ones. So that's a good one, but also very, very competitive to see.
Yes. That one, out of all of the ones, if you're thinking that you want to attend, a dining package is your best bet for
Hmm.
Candlelight Processional. For the other three, not usually needed, except for a few select performers that have huge followings. Like if John Stamos is ever performing with the the Beach Boys cover band, that one always has like a huge long line. I can't remember who was there when I was there earlier this year, but the line was all the way to Italy. Like, so some performers are going to have, they're going to be more popular and the lines will get long, but in general, it is not too easy to, it might not too difficult to roll up and just find a spot to sit and watch.
Hmm.
Um, all of the festivals also have something that I didn't used to think was that cool until I started doing them, and now I love them, and that's the scavenger hunts, and I think they're great for kids or adults. Maybe I'm weird, but I kinda enjoy them. So they have scavenger hunts where things are hidden in each of the pavilions, and in some instances, like across all of EPCOT, where you can, look for something. You purchase a map, and the map has stickers on it and it gives you hints about where things are hidden, and then the scavenger hunt portion is you go into that area and look for whatever your target is. So for Spike's pollination scavenger hunt, for example, there's a little Spike Gardens stake that you look for in the gardens. Remy's Ratatouille hide and squeak, there's a figurine of Remy that gets hidden around, and so you have to go and locate those. And it's just something a little bit extra to do, especially if you are a frequent visitor to Epcot or the World Showcase, or if you have kids and you need something to help keep them entertained, get them excited.
And then I have a block when it comes to scavenger hunts. I don't totally understand how they work, but is this the one where when you buy it, you can also get the prize right away?
Yes, yes. So instead of having to like you don't have to prove that you found everything, right? Like Disney isn't going to make you prove that you actually went to every spot and located whatever it is that you're looking for. But when you buy your your map, you can also pick up your prize, and they usually have things to choose from, especially in the early part of the scavenger hunt. You'll have
Hmm.
different options, and they'll be themed around whatever that festival is. So, like for Flower and Garden, I can't remember if it was this year or previous years. You could get like a little watering pitcher. For Festival of the Arts, a little painting, ceramic painting set. So your prize reflects whatever the festival is. The that usually runs, I want to say like $15 maybe for the boards. You don't have to do it all on one trip. You can bring them back. I think they're kind of fun. personally.
The last thing is a food passport stroll. So you
Mhm.
eat certain things from certain booths, and then you get, what is it, a bonus like treat?
Mhm.
Help me.
Yes, yeah, you get like a bonus treat from, usually you pick it up from one booth. So, like, for the wonderful walk of colorful cuisine, you'll have to purchase usually 5 items from a list of 8 to 11 different choices, and then once you get a stamp in your passport that you pick up at any of the food booths, once you get a stamp for all of those, you get a cookie that is shaped like an artist palette. For the you have to have, I think it's all plant-based items, like 5 plant-based items, and you get a special flavored Dole Whip and a souvenir cup. And so that's kind of how those work. Uh, Maybe not necessarily worth it if you're just going for the free thing, but if you're already planning on buying those items, it's a nice little bonus that you can get,
Hmm.
that isn't gonna cost you any extra.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole list of things that are available can be quite overwhelming. So if you want to narrow it down, this is one way to do it, I guess.
Yes, I think the most popular one is probably the cookie stroll because it literally
Yes,
is you just go buy,
a bunch of cookies.
a bunch of cookies and then you get a bonus cookie at the end, so
Yes. All right. So having said that,
mhm.
um, what's your favorite of the festivals?
I would say it's for me, I do love Flower and Garden. I feel like what you were saying earlier about Flower and Garden, how there used to be extras to it, and Food and Wine too. Food and Wine used to have culinary people from the Food Network there who, chefs who would put on,
Hmm.
cooking demonstrations. There was a whole big, special event called Party for the Senses, right?
Hmm.
That
I went to it once.
Yeah, that was this big elaborate thing, in the World Showplace where you paid it was a decent chunk for the tickets. They were not inexpensive, but you got really elevated food and
Food and Cirque du Soleil performers.
yeah, so it was
That's where I ran into Art Smith, and nobody knew who he was except for me at that time. And I took a selfie that was so bad that I will not share it.
maybe in the, age of AI now, you can fix, whatever your issue is with it. But even I do miss those things. Flower and Garden Festival used to have a tour where you could go around and they went through the whole, World Showcase. Well, a lot of Epcot in general to talk about the topiaries and how they make them, and
We
we
did
did
that,
yeah, we did that. So,
which is key because I thought the topiaries were fake.
yeah. Yes, you did.
I kept telling Heather for years, the topiaries are fake because they just pull them out every year. They look the same. So I just thought, oh, they're just pulling them out.
No, yeah.
They're real.
Spoiler, Shannon, they are in fact real. So, I do love, I think, the mall for different reasons. I am sad that they have been watered down.
Hmm. I think Flower and Garden is our favorite big festival,
Mhm.
and I think Festival of the Arts is probably our favorite of the two little ones. I will personally say Food and Wine is my least favorite. And I think I get irritated that it's so popular because I'm like, all the other festivals are better.
Yeah.
It doesn't need our help to promote it. Everybody else seems to show up for it.
Yes, I think it's for me, it's a nostalgic one. There's more booths for Food and Wine, so you have more options, not necessarily that they're any better.
No, there's definitely good food to be found, but
Mhm. Um, so I love them all, but also I could spend an entire trip and only go into Epcot. So I like that park, and I do like it more when there's festivals. This last trip too, one thing that became so glaringly obvious for me, it had been a while since I had been to Epcot in that brief gap of time in between Festival of the Arts and Flower and Garden Festival. There's not a huge amount of time in between those 2, and I had forgotten just how much not having a festival impacts the other places to get food and drink inside of the World Showcase, especially on the weekends. While the general walkways were easier and to navigate,
mhm.
any place that sold any sort of alcohol inside of the pavilions themselves, which is where most of those places are, the lines were atrocious. So there is something to be said about that. I don't feel like that happens as much during the summer. I feel like the gap of time in between the festivals maybe plays into that a little bit. But man, oh man, it was that weekend right
Epcot,
before Flower Garden, and it was crazy.
Epcot not going to beat the allegations that it's a drunk park
No, not
with
not
people lined up like that.
not at all. But yeah, I love the festivals, love Epcot. I think they all have something to offer.
We should do a Festival of the Holidays this year before or after our cruise
It's been a
because
few
we
years.
we have a December cruise.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a while since we have done that one. So,
It's hard because it doesn't last that long. Like Epcot doesn't start their holiday stuff till after Thanksgiving, so it's just mostly the month of December.
yes, and I think that's something to, be said too, that all of the dates are kind of there's definitely a pattern to them as
Hmm.
to this one usually starts, this Thursday of this month and
Hmm.
goes until this date. Festival of the Holidays is almost always extremely easy to pinpoint because it almost always starts the Friday after Thanksgiving and goes until December 30th. So there there is a pattern to it if you are thinking ahead and trying to plan and there is a festival that you really really want to go to, just take a look at that pattern and you will likely fall into the time when it will be taking place.
Yeah. Okay. Having said that, we will be there at the very tail end of Flower Garden
Mhm.
on our next trip. So maybe we'll be able to catch a little bit of that. Some comments. Ranger Kyle says, bad couple of weeks for Florida based transportation companies with yellow and black color schemes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that, but both Spirit and Brightline.
Yep. Jennifer, if you book a package with free dining, can you add a person to this reservation at a later date and still have them get the free dining, even if the window to book that deal has expired?
Mm,
Um, when you modify in any way, you can be subject to availability. You might want to call and
yes.
ask
Yeah, and that might be one of those instances too where you add them when you
in
arrive
in
and
person.
they just don't get the free dining aspect, but you at
Yeah,
least can add them without messing up free dining for everyone else.
yeah, exactly. So I would give a call there. All right. Tomorrow we have Instagram Q&A. So if you would like to submit questions there, feel free. And then Wednesday we'll have the questions that aren't answered on Instagram. But here tomorrow we will have a planning session
Mhm.
and we're helping somebody else, talk through their trip plan so that they feel more secure and confident when they go to make their reservations. And so that will be up tomorrow. But I think that is it for today.
Yeah. See you later.